Good evening and welcome to COA and a conversation with Aaron Bennett. Take it away, Stan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you for joining us tonight, Aaron. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, Mr. Aaron Bennett, a writer and producer originally from Washington State. Ladies and gentlemen, he first began his career in writing writer-actor on a local public access TV show in the late 90s. It was there that he discovered and developed his sketch writing and comedic timing. Such, after owning a comedy club, Aaron moved to LA to pursue screenwriting, acting, comedy, and improv comedy. He has attained numerous writing contest placements through CineQuest, Screencraft, TMFF, the Titan Awards, and the Los Angeles Screenplay Competition, just to name a few. He has also co-authored 12 projects in his first 3.5 years in Los Angeles. In 2020, he won a screenplay. Uh-oh. I love it.
I don't hear a delay, so let's keep going.
So much technology.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron, so I gave them, but I kind of want to get like your insight about how you got started.
Yeah, I don't know if people are gonna remember the old public access TV. Like, I don't know if you had cable TV, you always had that channel that came, community service, like, local news, things like that. That was actually how I got started. We found out that you could go in and right off the street, and they had all the cameras and all the editing equipment and everything you could, and they had a little back room, and you could go in and just shoot whatever you wanted. And by law, because of the First Amendment, they would have to play it at least once. And you can't tell a bunch of 19-year-olds that everybody's got to see a thing, and you're going to be on TV and you're going to be famous, and you're like 150,000 person town. And of all those, nobody watches this channel. It was literally like, we're going through the county fair now, and that type of thing. But we started our own sketch comedy show, and writing the sketches, doing all of these things, and it was incredibly like intoxicating. Hanging out with your friends, grabbing cameras. You don't know how to use anything. And I got a chance to really experiment with comedy.
You started your own sketch comedy show on PBS?
It's on public access, which is like, if PBS is here, public access is down here somewhere. It's trying to figure out where the front door is. Like, it's like Wayne's World was public access.
Got it. Okay,
that makes any sense.
That actually helped me.
yeah, no, it's the best way to put it. Like, in your basement, like making a show that really no one's ever gonna watch. But it actually was like big fish, small pond kind of thing, because I'd be there working at my little grocery store job, and people would walk up and be like, "Hey, I saw your show," which was like, it's huge. Like, I'm basically famous now.
That sounds incredible. Oh my gosh.
It was YouTube before YouTube, and if all your jokes were local, then everyone knew you were talking about, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so that was my first exposure, though. I didn't take drama but one time in high school, and so as far as acting and everything else, none of that exposure had really hit me in the face yet until I started doing public access and then community theater and things like that. And and then writing sketches. I'd never written anything like a script before. So yeah.
Can I actually ask you, like, because you brought up how it was YouTube before YouTube, like how much do you think has changed since when you first started versus now?
Everything, like so much. Well, I didn't know what the format of a screenplay was. I took, the only college I took post high school was a children's writing course, and it was correspondence. So you're literally, this is 1996. You're writing out your assignments like longhand, dot matrix printer, where you rip the little pieces of paper off the sides, and you physically mail them to your teacher. And mine was in Connecticut, and I would do my assignments. Like these assignments that were actually on cassettes. So I would listen to the assignment on cassette, get my my course study or whatever, and then go home and type it up, and then print it off, and then mail these in, and then they would come back handwritten. They would mail them back, and they would be like handwritten, like, this is a good story, this is what you need to work on, and things like that. And that was my, I think it gave me 7 college credits, and that was all the college I ever took. It was just, but it was like really inspiring because I always wanted to write children's books. That was like the whole goal in high school. I thought if I was ever going to do anything, I was going to be a children's book author. That was it.
Oh, well, what happened with that?
I'm actually working on one, and I'm struggling. I wrote a screenplay with a friend of mine, Chris Bond. It's called Calabasas Chronicles. The Ballad of Mikey Darrow, and it's a kid detective thing. It's kind of going back to the well for me. It was so much fun, though, in a way, to just weave comedy. Chris and I sat down and we thought, what if a kid was like a hard-boiled detective and took himself so incredibly serious that he was the only one that got the joke? Like, to him this was real, to everyone else like who's playing Roger Rabbit type of thing, except this little guy firmly believes that all these massive problems that he has are, like school election fraud, and all the election fraud is little pieces of paper getting put in a shoebox, like someone switched the shoeboxes, kind of thing. And so Chris and I burned through this script. It took no time to write. It was so much fun. It was every noir, like neo-noir kid story. Like I think the closest thing spec wise would probably be that movie Brick, if anybody's seen that. So those were high schoolers though, and that had this very noir type of thing, a femme fatale and all that. But I thought, this is a fun script, and I really love the character of this kid. I would really enjoy writing a book series based on him and his adventures. And so I'm actually gonna try and get back into it. Like,
that sounds so incredible.
That's so interesting, actually.
No,
And
for real. Go ahead.
before you do that, are you've gotten this foray into horror though?
yeah. So
why?
Oh, it's true. Why is a great question, and right now I can guarantee you that my girlfriend is laughing because it just kind of fell in line. So I actually shot back in May a short film about Mikey Darrow. I just wanted like a proof of concept. We were going to show some people. We got some really interesting chances to be basically a pitch, and we were really excited. One guy from not Warner Brothers itself, but has an office on Warner Brothers lot. There was someone, that's how it is the network is a friend of a friend of a friend could get a decision maker at Netflix. We were just like, okay, here we go. Maybe they'll like something like this. And I thought it would help if we found this Ollie G. Ghali is a really talented kid, young actor. His father is Eden Ghali. He used to be on Mad Men. Was a friend of a friend, and someone said, or my co-producer said, "Look, Hunter G. Williams said, like, maybe this guy's a friend of mine. He's a great person, but his son is really talented. And I was like, great. I don't know any other kids in Los Angeles. Perfect. Sounds like he's cast. But it ended up, which is not how you cast. I imagine that everyone out there can just be like, no, you actually have an audition process. You got to do all that. And I was like, nope, that's not what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put all my eggs in this one basket. And it turned out Ollie was perfect. He like multilingual. He ended up having a photographic memory. He never even brought a script to set, which is terrifying at first. And then he goes through a walkthrough and he goes, "Would you like me to say my lines?" And he was sweet, 10 years old. And he goes out and he's basically off book. All I had to do was just kind of walk him around. It's my first time directing. And, you know, they say children and pets. And I was just kind of mortified by that. I was like, okay, if you're going to direct, beware children, beware pets. There's all the constraints, all the wild cards, all the variables. He was perfect, incredible. And we went through 10 pages in one day, and he had about 10 hours. And he was spectacular. And I brought in Ryan O'Quinn, who's a popular actor in family and faith-based films. Mm-hmm. And that is how we put together Calabasas Chronicles, a Mikey Darrow story. I got into a couple festivals, I got a couple left, and then eventually I'll drop it on YouTube. And then I turned around 6 months later and decided, what a great idea! I'll make a horror film. But yeah, it's I just so I'm sorry, I'm staggering a little bit. The way that the Joker film, it's called Joker's Wild, came up was very much like shoot your shot. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I reached out to David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown in Terrifier 1, 2, and 3. And he's basically our Robert Englund. He's our Freddy Krueger. He's amazing and really scary. Like, so as far as the horror genre goes, you heard it here first. I'm super wimpy when it comes to horror. It is. If you want to upset me, perfect. That is the movie to put in. It's easy to turn my stomach. I look away. I watched Hereditary with my roommate Vanessa Lee, and my co-producer.
Terrifying! Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, you know when in South Park, Kenny has his hoodie on, and then when he gets scared, he takes his strings and he tightens it, and then it closes up. Yes. That's exactly what I did with my hoodie. And like, there were points in that when I saw the little shadow. I mean, I don't know if it's spoilers or not, but you look when the kid's sleeping and there's the shadow across the ceiling of the person that's suspended up there. Mm-hmm. I lost it. I went bananas. I was like yelling at the TV. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was mad at her because it was like 2 hours of a sore stomach of just not like the gore of it, because there was that, but just like, I've never been uncomfortable at a movie for so long. Yes. Like, it was upsetting on a level like.
Yes, you're describing it. Oh my god, that movie is so upsetting.
Ari Aster is incredible. Like, if there was a person that I would just like to be a fly on the wall to whatever process it is that he goes through as a writer or a director or whatever. Yes. That is a masterclass in how to just upset a human being visually. I've watched like 2 other films of his right now.
Did you watch Midsommar?
I did. Yeah. I didn't. Yeah, it was another thing. It's like, I didn't imagine that I could be scared during the day, because it's usually the jump scares and stuff at night that get me. Mm-hmm. And the old tricks, you know, like camera looks away, camera looks back. And when you look back, there's something there, or it's behind you, or close a mirror, you know, to brush your teeth and then open it again. And now there's someone behind you. Those things freak me out. It's super easy to get me. I jump in the theaters. Like I guess I'm the worst / best person to take to a horror movie because it's very entertaining to the person that's sitting next to me. But this is it's one of those things where I got a chance to ask David if he wanted to do a well, I had a mutual friend that I had gone to a screening of The Mean One, and it was a talk back, and The Mean One is the Grinch, but if it was a horror slasher movie, and David played the Grinch. He also played the Grinch on like Broadway, or in a theatrical sense. He was the Grinch in the happy version. And then someone was like, "Hey, I don't know how it came about, but basically asked him if he could do a horror version of that." And it was phenomenal. It was so much fun. Like, it's supposed to be a horror and a slasher and be gory and everything else, but it was so fun and hilarious. And but the makeup was really great. And so I looked up Instagram and asked Tatiana Bluchel, like, I said, "Hey, great job with the makeup. Great job with just everything. You guys did awesome with very little funds." And she was super gracious and just kind of followed her career for like the next year and a half. And then David let it be known that he was excited to be the Joker. Like, that's his big passion. And so I messaged David and messaged Tatiana and said, "Wouldn't it be cool if," and you just kind of shoot your shot and see. And he said yes. Like, as far as to his fans, I don't think I've ever seen anyone more accessible and humble, and he's just very sweet, and which is a wild juxtaposition to who his character is in Terrifier.
That's usually how it is.
Yeah, and see, right, and then meeting him, and he was just soft spoken and just a wonderful guy. And on the day that we shot, we had one day. I met him for the very first time. I texted with him a little bit, but we hadn't discussed anything at length. And he, off book like you hoped for. I'm lucky, 2 out of 2. And but then he brought so much, and his performance was phenomenal. And Tatiana came in, and I got to say, like, the art department, John Helgren, Chris Bond was there with the photography, did phenomenal. We had a really tremendous gaffer, Tyler Hart, and our key grip, Annie. I kind of want to name them all, but like Annie Williams. But it basically the stills that I know you guys have are from that, and it's a visual medium, and it's they're just. I love these colors, and I came to Chris and I was like, "This is my Christmas list. Like, if you can give me this, I'll be so happy." And Chris was basically like, "Hold my beer," and.
Yes, no, the images that you sent us were so beautiful. At first I was like, is this AI? Like, what? It was so good. For the record, okay, that is what it's supposed to look like, okay? It is amazing, and that is without AI, okay? Humans are doing the damn thing. I'm just saying, like, okay.
Yeah. And so the images that I think you guys have, they're not pulled from the actual film. These are just on set. We had Chris Bates was our on-set stills photographer. He was just walking around taking photos. Like, these are untouched, and it's just, it was so amazing being in the room, and it was just in an upsetting space. John came in the night before, casually threw together this awesome set, and was just like, "And I'm out," and then came down and tore it down. But he was just phenomenal. I got so lucky, and I'm so blessed. And that's what being in LA has been like since 2018 when I came down here, was that you just run into people that are all coming up the ladder. and they're maybe doing one job or 3 other jobs, but they're working towards their pivotal point. And one of the things I love asking people on set is I grip, I grip, I gaff, I go home and I write. I have a grip an electric truck, and that's what keeps the lights on, and that's what has since I've been down here. I love writing and all the uh, spec writing and scripts. Those give me a lot of joy. But you got to keep the lights on, and so some actors will go and work as waiters or waitresses and baristas and things like that. And it's kind of just what you have to do to make it. This is such an expensive town too. Like, how many roommates can you get? How many?
Ralph is asking a question. 1 second, Ralph. I don't know if we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sucking all the air out of the room. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
you're
Because I'm also
fine.
going to
This
show
is your time.
a couple of pictures from what Ralph is discussing with the horror film. But go ahead, Ralph. You have a question?
What's going on, dude?
Hey, Ralph, how are you?
Good, man. Doing really well. I tuned in a little bit late, but I'm here. Hopefully, I didn't miss too much. But then again, I probably missed a lot. But Aaron, I've known you for a while. I've probably known you since 2018, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think 2018 when you first got out here as an actor, Improv Specialist, and I learned that you and your writing partner were also very passionate writers, and focus your attention on writing and start to make headway with writing rather than acting. And I wanted to know, from your point of view, how do you stay in it? You know what I mean? I know that you were able to, purchase a grip truck and the grip company, and that's kept you going as well. But how do you? One of the things that's hard about being in entertainment is that it's kind of a transitory business. You're always going from job to job, and how do you stay afloat in the entertainment business?
The best way is just diversify, like any income stream you can possibly. I mean, I know a lot of guys and women and just people of all kinds. Here, it's one of the things when you take an Uber that I love to ask is I never met a stranger, so I love striking up a conversation with anybody and everybody. Like I'm a weirdo like that. I think everybody's got an amazing story, and sometimes someone will it's like a bartender thing, I guess. like I will be so excited to hear how people are making like ends meet, what's going on in life and things like that. And I think everybody kind of wants to be recognized like that. And but one of the things that everyone's been talking about lately, before the fires even, is that it's just been such a gig hustle. Like it's always been, 1 job, 2 job, 3 jobs, but right now it's you're trading so much sleep trying to get an opportunity, and so financially you have to make the bare bones. For me, it's been gripping. When I first started here in 2018, I worked on a Lifetime movie. I think I made $50 for a 12-hour shift, and on another, I think I did like $112 to grip, and I didn't know where it was. And I knew, you recognize the term at the end of in the post credits and stuff after a movie, but it's not till you get there that you realize, like, oh, okay, well this translates from like construction and as a laborer, which I had a background in. So I'm like, well, this is the most logical department for me, because when you're on set, nobody really wants the writer on set. Sometimes it can be a distraction, if you're over there harumphing when they do the exact opposite of what you wrote. So I basically had to start making a living. I'll back up. When I came down here in 2018, I rented out my place and moved here and thought, okay, perfect. I've got a job already lined up. I was going to be in a writer's room and write on a show, a comedy show, kind of one of those, very much like The Office. It was a great premise. I was super excited. I'd been doing a lot of comedy writing and improv up in Washington State for a long time. And so I was really good working with a group of people. And that's what I was super excited about. It was just like workshopping comedy, like real time. And then we had an EP for that show, the multi-million-dollar budget of this show, and they're getting ready to take it off.
Was it multi-camera? Was it a sketch comedy or what?
It was going to be a single cam, very much like The Office, but it was a great premise. Oh my God. So imagine The Office if it was at like a medieval times kind of thing. And
Interesting.
And yeah, their structure of the show that they wanted to make was incredible. The two show creators had worked there for like 6 or 7 years. One of which, Ralph, was at the same. She was actually represented by Karen Patmos as well, and so a lot of talented people all lined up. Everything was in place. We were getting ready to start writing. The money had been deposited, and then the EP from the East Coast took all the money and ran. The way we found out, I was on set, and 2 FBI agents showed up and notified the producer, who was also a producer on that show, that the money was gone, and that they are aware that they've been following this guy, and they're still trying to catch him. But your heart sinks because all the plans that I made, the income, everything, the people that have been ripped off, like everybody was devastated. At the same time, what am I doing? I don't have a network. Like, I don't know anybody, and I've got to regroup quick. And so you go through like that period of depression where you just like, okay, am I really going to move back home? And it's only been 3 weeks. Like, am I going to, do the land speed record for the shortest bid for your dream in Los Angeles that's ever been done? It kind of felt like it. And so I was going down to Inglewood and painting sets and just doing construction and whatever else, just trying to think about what I was going to do to pivot from that disaster. And then it became gripping. And that's where I met probably a lot of the same dozen people that from when I came down here, you find your tribe, and then you just start trying to elevate everybody. You start trying to network upon network upon network, because it truly is who you know. And then you find out where all the creativity lies. And then I doubled down and I invested in myself. I had a little bit in savings, and I started doing buying equipment, rental equipment, because I started noticing when I was on set that some of the like silent benefactors of all of this are the people who bring the camera and bring all of those items to set. And then I realized there could be passive income if I could get gear and rent it out to these guys. And I've probably been on more Lifetime movies, like as a grip or an electrician, than I can count. And then you'll be standing there working, and then someone will run up to you with a cop's costume and just be like, hey, put this uniform on. You're about a 32, 34, right? Or, and I'm like, what? I've arrested more Lifetime stars like that. My acting docket is it's just me arresting Lifetime people, like, and then going back to work. That is my illustrious acting career. But yeah, that was, sorry, long way around the barn, Ralph. Sorry about that. But yeah, so that's what I did. I started a grip and electric rental business, and I leaned heavily on that for my writing, to fund my writing career and fund my what now is a directing career, I guess.
How long did it take you to gather that much equipment and to get the truck and the whole thing?
It's still a process because some lights become unfashionable. And when you go from tungsten, which is beautiful and just is a lustrous light, and really there's no better light for lighting women, especially because tungsten, the way it reacts with the oils in your skin and just your natural glow, it's stunning. It's truly stunning. But it takes a tremendous amount of electricity. And we, like, as the industry started pivoting into LED, the cost of LED lighting came down. And then these are powerful lights you can just plug into the wall, or just a tiny putt-putt generator. And the rental costs for the expensive lights and the HMIs, which are the really powerful lights that take a ton of electricity, were really high. But the LEDs that were coming out, I mean, you're talking the difference in cost between like a $35,000 HMI light and then its equivalent in LED, which was $3,500. And now it's anybody's game.
Difference.
Oh,
Huge difference.
Yeah. Immediately, there was no reason in the world I was going to put an HMI light on my truck. Like if director of photography really wanted one, if a gaffer really wanted one, I would go and sub rent it from a big house. But I started buying the little LED lights, Astera Titans, Titan tube lights, things like that, and accessorizing my grip truck. And it's a 3-ton package now. It's one of those big box trucks. Pretty much everything in my truck is used except for a couple of the LED lights. And I just have a little respectable package. I do like commercials and Lifetime movies, small stuff, non-union stuff. I've never gotten enough hours on a union picture to be a union grip. So I rent the truck out. Sometimes it does go on things that are union, and I have to send it with a union person, and so I just toss them the keys. But
so
wow.
We actually have a question in the chat. When did you know you wanted to be a writer director? You talked a little bit about the children's book, but when did you know that you wanted to be a writer director? What was that catalyst? Did you see a movie? Tell us about that a little bit.
So I grew up. My mom always loved the like reading to me very young, and that gave me the love of literature. I never had any desire to direct. I didn't really understand it or comprehend it, and that kind of leadership and / creative role, until this time last year. I got a chance, like a really intimate look. I wrote a feature with some friends called Cult of Personality. We put it together, it's some, shoestring budget, but it was a feature. And I had yet to have a feature script get picked up. And so it was like, you wait for other people to make an opportunity for you, you're going to be waiting a really long time. And I was thrilled to get a chance to help make an opportunity for myself. You have to bet on yourself. You have to go out and make content, and nobody's going to do it for you. I mean, I shouldn't say nobody. I shouldn't say, but you're going to make 5 projects before someone walks up and hands you one small opportunity. And so you have to find people that are like-minded and say, like, I know you want to be a director of photography. I really want to be a writer. Why don't we make something, and we'll find someone who really wants to be a director. And then you just kind of keep your ears open on set. There's going to be a PA right there who's probably the single most talented director, and no one knows, not yet. Like, you really have to be nice to everyone in this industry, because tomorrow that's going to be your producer. You're going to have a 25-year-old producer or line producer or something like that. People walk up to me on set because they're like, there's this old bald guy. He probably knows a lot about, he's probably the producer. And I'm like, no, man, I'm just a grip. Like, you need to go talk to the 26-year-old young lady over there. She's in charge. She's got the purse string. She's got the script. The director is 23. He's a phenom in the industry right now. Like, the guy holding the camera is 19. Like, Like the industries get turned up on its head. You got people that aren't going to film school that have a tremendous amount of talent because they have a tremendous amount of passion, and which is really exciting. But at the same time, people have to stop underestimating their neighbor, and creatives, like the chance that I got. I'm watching someone that's directing a feature for the first time. Her name's Erin Ray, directing this movie that I wrote, and I'm just like, oh my! You sit by monitor, and you're like, I really, 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 really want to do this, and you slowly start talking to yourself like, okay, well, the directors are making these choices, and I'll be on a commercial, and someone will say like, giving directions or whatever, and you're over there with with your La Croix, and you're sitting on your apple box with your arms crossed,
drinking your Perrier.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You're like, I set up all the lights. There's nothing I can do, so I'm going to sit here and watch the director do his thing. And sometimes it's phenomenal. The most of the times it is like someone doesn't just slide into a directing chair without having, 99% of the time. I've done some music videos that people that were they had such an amazing eye and for the situation, what's going on. I'm just setting stuff up, and then I sit back and I get a front row seat to just true creativity, inspiration.
You get a front row seat to the creativity and what their vision, really.
Yeah. I mean, on the larger commercials and stuff, they'll have like mood boards. They'll have shot lists and everything. Looks like a giant comic book essentially. And they'll just go through and unpin every shot that they need as they go so they can make the day. And seeing the range of kids that come in with a camera and a couple $1,000s and want to make a music video and have no idea what they're doing and start grabbing things off my truck, and I'm like, tell me what you want to do first, like, because there's $150,000 worth of equipment on this truck.
Right.
And you aren't going to just start pulling stuff off, like, but I can help you. Like, I want to help you. Like, what do you have in mind? Like, oh, I want to get up on top of that telephone pole with this light. I'm like, okay, well, that's a power pole. And no, but I have a stand that can go up that high, and I can put the light on that. And they're like, great. And
but
so
I think this industry is the sad thing is, and the interesting thing is, this industry is full of just like these risk takers that are just gonna go and get up on this ladder, and you're like, okay, hold on, that's a power pole, but I love your ingenuity. And
I have one story that involves a flamethrower and a bunch of like 17-year-olds that wanted to do a music video. I didn't know that you could build a flamethrower. Apparently that's a thing. It's an Elon Musk toy. And, LA is crazy to me at this point. I've been here about a year and I started seeing some wild stuff, and we're doing a music video. And this is about a month and a half before the COVID lockdown. This is really close to the Christmas prior. So I guess 2 months. And we're doing a music video, and these kids are coming up with some wild asks. And we were trying to accommodate however we could. And then a Lamborghini shows up, and then this little flamethrower thing that takes like propane shows up. And I have video of these kids going out into this cul-de-sac up in the Beverly Hills area. One of the kids' parents was a real estate developer and tossed his son the keys and said, hey, go shoot your music video at this house. An edgeless pool. It's a house. It's a mansion, an enormous mansion. And so the kids they had one couch, and it was completely void of furniture everywhere else. It was up for sale. I don't know whose house it was. Those kids burned it down, but they certainly frightened the neighbors because the Lamborghini was out there in the cul-de-sac, and there was a person in the driver's seat shooting the flamethrower out the driver's seat. And no one ever believes me until I pull up the video, and I'm like, no, this is a real thing. They had 4 containers of propane, and they blew through 3 of them just playing around out in the street. That video itself is like an hour-long conversation of chaos. But like the thing about it, like we knew something was weird when we walked in, and on the crafty table was a mound of candy, like Mars miniatures and stuff like that, and White Claw.
But why was there only one couch in the house?
I don't know, but I refuse to sit in it, Ralph. I don't know. I don't know why it was furnished at all, but there was this one couch, and maybe whoever moved out was just like, the next people can have it. I'm gonna tell myself that at night. But like it was entertaining, and then it was kind of scary, and then they were like, hey, we want to get on the 101 and have our singer get on the back of this Lamborghini and like hook her legs through the little fin and then blow this flamethrower around. What do you guys think about that? And I said, it sounds, yeah. Said, so it sounds like we're done here. We're going to load up our stuff. I hope that you don't do what you just described, because that's horrific. And I don't know. I didn't see anything on the news, but they really wanted to go through the tunnel, some tunnel somewhere. They tried to get us to rig a camera to the hood. Can you guys put this on the hood? And we're like, this is a $50,000 camera, and you brought us some suction cups. It's like, you don't want to do that. And he goes, oh, it's my dad's.
Suction cup.
Yeah, but
Oh my goodness.
sorry, there's a lot of, you mentioned, Crystal, like there are dangerous scenarios that you get put in, and the only thing you can do is just be the level head in the room as a key grip and just say no, like just blatantly, just like, and you just see their little hearts. Oh, well, you know, and then pout. It's like, your pouting is not going to let me put your actress on the back of this Lamborghini while you go down the freeway. Are you insane? And they're like, well,
you're going to cause
like
put a. But you're really upset about this. You're really.
Oh yeah, and 5 people are looking at me like, what's your problem, man?
Ralph just said, and I don't know if you could hear him, because he said he's got a 9-year-old. I'm used to dashing dreams. Yeah.
No, it's true. I feel like a bully, but I'm like, someday you'll thank me because you'll be alive too.
Right. I'm trying to keep you alive. I'm trying to keep you alive. I have another question here. What has been the highlight? Let me get the question up. What has been a highlight so far? What keeps you going when things get tough?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Oh my gosh. Molly, by the way, I know her. So I try not to get in my head about a timeline. That's the hardest thing, I think. Getting down here and thinking about when I'm gonna get a script sold, what I'm gonna act in, what who's gonna buy my whatever, like, is my truck gonna get rented out next week? If you get locked up in your head thinking about this imaginary timeline, the self-imposed timeline, you'll go crazy. And I went through that. COVID was terrible for everybody, and I think in Los Angeles, you got all these dreamers locked up in their apartments, and some of them made great use of the time. We rewrote all of our scripts. We went through every single IP. At that point, I think we had 5 pilots and like 5 features, and it was just time to do something, because we were just going stir crazy like everybody was. But how do you, I mean, I was very fortunate because, everything here shut down. There were a few productions that were trying to still shoot. They were going out of state. They were ignoring things, and people were still getting sick on their sets. But if you stayed here, you weren't getting work, not for like the first 4 months or so. And it was just a really good time to be a writer in that sense, because you don't need to go out. You can use this new Zoom thing, and if you're a collaborative writer, you can do that. But my writing partner, we're roommates. She's right there. We'd get up and what are we going to do today? Kind of thing. And luckily, work started up as we started getting through all of our projects. As far as what Molly's asking, and like what keeps you going, I think my friends here, the people closest to me, because they know that creative people get wrapped up in kind of the nightmare of can I create something? Is everyone going to like it? I'm super insecure. Like when the first time I gave a script to someone to read that wasn't a friend, that was just someone willing to read it, which is so hard. It's so incredibly difficult to find someone that will read you, especially if you've got a 90-page script and then turn around in what amount of time. But I didn't know that. So I gave my script to like 4 people, and no one got back to me like the next day. Like, well, didn't you read it? You know, like,
Right.
and then months go by, and you start doubting, like, well, maybe it was just really bad, and nobody liked it, or you know, you second guessing yourself. And then I would start rewriting before I even got notes. I would start thinking like, well, maybe it's just not good in this way. And then things that you really liked about it were just not the reality of the situation, and start second guessing yourself as an artist, and or as a writer or a creative, or and it was just kind of a person who's like combated depression. It was a terrible time to be locked in your head during COVID, and then writing stuff that's just going out into the ether, that you're wondering, like, is Hollywood ever going to be the same? Like, is anyone ever going to buy a script and ever again? Like, you know, crazy things to say out loud, because of course all this is going to blow over, and there'll be some sort of normalcy. But like we had a couple scripts that went to like Funny or Die, and we started getting a lot of heat behind another one of our scripts, our pilots, and it was so exciting. January and February were amazing. We got 2 scripts that went into CineQuest in San Jose, and as writers, like we were blowing up in the sense that, you know, we were starting. Screencraft, we had one get into the top 20 of the comedy pilots, TV pilots. And you know, we got representation as writers that way. My partner was got an agent, and I kind of vicariously had representation too, because a lot of the IP we co-wrote. And so that was through what's now known as Heroes and Villains. That's where our 2 agents went. They had a boutique agency at the time, but then they folded into Heroes and Villains. So great things were happening, and then it all just kind of, all the brakes got put on. Bad Robot was looking at one, and WWE looked at another, and to have these meetings, and you just think, well, tomorrow's the day I'm going to be famous, so I'm going to get a check in the mail, and all that's going to happen. And then when it doesn't, it's all about are your friends there? The only, I guess, the only common thread is the friendships that you have of other creatives that are just like, well, no, it's not. There's no date on this. There's no, I guess I'm circling back to that. Like, putting a self-imposed date on your success is the surefire way to go insane, and lose sleep at night. But just getting up and not doing it, I guess, if that answers your question, Molly, is as far as highlights go, just meeting all these great people. You know, my best friends are all going through the same journey. And so if anyone's feeling down or not creative, they can just call, and there's 5 people right away who can just be like, well, let's go do something. Let's go work on the truck, or let's go shoot something, or, hey, I've got a job coming. And it is a struggle. It is, because creative people are really prone to outside forces, I think, because, you know, our minds are open and we let everything in, and then we turn around and we give everything back But the downside is you're letting everything in, and maybe there's not a filter, and some of that negative stuff. You start hearing, too much negative energy. Like, if you want to call it energy, or you just want to call it's just like creative space. It's so you absorb. I mean, even if you're not an empathetic person, like an outwardly empathetic person trying to connect in that way with the people that are around you, you're still going to absorb people's feedback and get a thicker skin. 4 years had to go by before I could give a script to someone and it would come back with a page of notes and I could read them and just be like, well, these 3 notes are gold.
Right.
From agent, like when I think Ralph's read some of my stuff, Ralph, if I remember right. And then, and then you get a note back. And at first it was terrifying 4 years ago, 5 years ago, because you think of it as a criticism. And it's the last thing you can handle hearing is someone not liking me, because if you don't like my script, you don't like me. And I would combine, these things. Like, if this script is everything that I am and I put all my energy and my heart into it and I give it to somebody and they're like, I don't really like it, here's 2 pages of why, then my skin wasn't thick enough to be able to handle that. I would get so bitter and so depressed. And then later, after that happening enough, I wish somebody would do a course on how to weather that storm. When they look at something you draw, like Molly, or if they look at something that you write or shoot or direct or whatever, that what their impression of your art is not their impression of who you are. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge separation for me to make that realization, and to suddenly realize that, like, they're not judging me. So,
that is a huge help.
Yeah.
I was really just locked in. I'm sorry.
Yes. It's a huge level of maturity. I mean, it takes a while to become that as a writer.
Yeah.
I think too, because you write so long, you put so much into it, you stay up all night, and that's what you want your reader to read. And I remember I wrote something for the first time for someone else, and I was totally detached, and I would just write it, and they'd say, no, I rather it be this way. Okay. And then I would just write it, and suddenly it the writing was just writing. And that's when I kind of realized, kind of like you did, oh, this is just writing.
Yeah.
It's not a reflection of me. It's not a reflection of everything I am in the world. It's just a gig. And it's just the way that I'm trying to make money.
So I want to veer to that question a little bit, Ralph and Aaron. Do you feel like you can be a little bit more freer and be a little bit even more creative? Or if you're writing something funny, you can be even a little bit more funnier if you're writing for someone else?
Yeah. It's I like that question. So I've always really been drawn to comedy. It's that to me is addictive. It's there's so many different types, different kinds, so many different comics, clean comics, dirty comics. Like, it just and even people that don't even talk. Like, I myself find Art the Clown funny. Like, and he's never said a word. And Mr. Bean, things like that. I mean, there's so much humor in the world that if I can put it in anything, like I put it in my horror movie. I couldn't help myself. Like, if someone's going to let me write or direct, and including a person's me, I got to put it in there. It's who I am. And I knew when I was 8 years old, I got my first big laugh from my grandmother, who I wasn't even sure liked me. Like, at that point, like, so she seemed very indifferent. She seemed to really perk up when my cousins walked in the room, but kind of just looked at me. Like, I I was her youngest, and I didn't know what to make of it. I definitely knew that there was a difference between those kids, but I dressed up as Groucho Marx for Halloween once, and I did a really good impression. She ran upstairs and got some of my grandfather's clothing and helped me with the costume, and laughed so much just seeing me do this impression, whether it was I had my little Groucho glasses and my fake plastic nose, and she took me, and we were out in a rural area for Halloween. She took me door to door and was like, "This is my grandson, Aaron," and like I couldn't believe it. It blew open my mind of like, oh, I'm gonna definitely be a comedian, whatever that is. I'm gonna do that. She laughed. I loved it. I was never happier, and I had enough of a pleaser personality in me, even as a kid, that where I was like, if it makes grandma happy, it makes me happy. And I'm gonna translate that somehow. And so I was the goofy kid who had fake dog poop and stuff in school. I was that guy at whoopee cushions. I must have gone through like 7 in my lifetime. The teacher would take one, and it's okay, I got this one here. Like, it was just,
But you see
rubber
how that
chicken.
one little, but you see how that one act made you relatable to somebody that you weren't even sure you were affecting, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, it just opened up so many things for you, and yeah,
I felt invisible. I felt invisible, and it was the first time I think that I felt like my grandma saw me. And I know that's not the case. I know she loved me, but it's when you make a connection with another person and they're just excited. When I was doing improv, it was the same way, connecting with an audience, and we just did kind of whose line is it game. My improv troupe is called Manic Thunder, and you always have to have a goofy name. But we did 400 shows in 10 years. They were 2-hour shows. We did, but we started doing shows for schools, and then we did like elementary schools, and that I don't have kids of my own, and so having an opportunity to entertain kids who are just like they're antsy in their like Ralph knows, like they just can't hold still for anything, but their teachers have them locked in. They're sitting cross-legged in the auditorium, and they're like in rows. They're doing just a really good job, but they're like fidgeting, and they're not sure if they can laugh or if they're being too loud. So every time they laugh too loud, they look at their teacher, and their teachers are like, "Yeah, you can do this. Like, am I good? You know?" And then you say, "Can I have a suggestion? Like, what's your favorite thing?" And then adults don't raise their hand. You know, you're doing a bar job somewhere, they're just going to be like, a lawyer, you know, whatever. And the kids are just like, you know, you see 40 hands go up in the air. and Matt Tricky, my host, he would always just be like, I'm sorry, I've never seen so many kids raise their hands before. And you pick on someone and 49 hands go down and they're sad. I'm just like, oh.
But you opened up the whole new world for them, like, oh my gosh. And so they could kind of be themselves, or, you know, be creative, and you know, it's okay to be antsy. That's what, you know, it's okay to, yes.
It was such an amazing connection because kids get it. And I think kids know it's okay for me to be a kid. It's okay for me to play,
right.
But here's 6 adults up here that are playing also, and they're being wacky and making faces and making voices and pretending. And that, I think, was mind blowing for them to see adults be like that. And then to also, I mean, like afterwards, I got choked up because afterwards the kids formed like a reception line, and they went up and like would shake your hand and say thank you and stuff. And some of them would just break protocol, and they would come up and they'd wrap their arms around your legs and just be like, thank you, I really liked it, I laughed a lot. And they would start and I'm just like, it was my pleasure. someone was cutting onions.
That's huge. I want to go back. There's one question, and I don't know the answer to this one. Says AB, when are we going to get, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, when are we going to see your mayonnaise commercial? Is that supposed to be mayonnaise?
Yeah, mayonnaise commercial. So I wrote a sketch. So like, okay, within the industry, this person could be asking 2 things. One, there's a in the industry when you're out shooting something and you're on the street side and people, I mean, it's a really curious thing. You've got the lights, you got the trucks, you got all this stuff, and people will walk up to you and say like, "Hey, what are you guys shooting?" And you're not allowed to really say like, "Oh, well, Tom Cruise is in that building and we're
Right.
doing this." You know, like you don't want to start chaos. And so most of the grips and electricians will just say, we're just shooting a mayonnaise commercial. I mean, it's and the only reason we say that is because it's just a benign like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's not exciting. All right, I'll move along. You know,
Well,
you just don't.
That's funny.
Well, because everyone's got their SAG card. Everyone's got their SAG card. That's actually happened.
Right.
I used to live in LA, and one of my roommates he saw the signs and just walked down.
Yeah.
And just wanted to get in the shot. Yes, so you have to do.
It's a great way to get free food.
Absolutely, it's a great.
Pick up a cone and walk up to the crafty table.
You know, you touched on a couple of things, and we have to wrap. But I really love the way this conversation was going, and because you touched on a couple of things, just not just depression, but like that imposter syndrome when you want to show people your stuff, you want to show people your script, because that's actually happened to me. And someone ripped my script apart, and I said, I've got to go back in. I've got to show more people. Because I know I've got something here. I know that this is good, but at the same time, you're just, that fear takes you over. We've got to have you back to talk more about your projects, because I have these stills up here that I've been wanting to show. So I want to talk more about the
Sure.
horror film. And actually, Matthew just asked another question. So what industry secrets can you share? He's already shared a story about flamethrowers, you guys. So,
Industry secrets.
Can you give us one more? Can you give us just one or two more?
I've worked. So like, I wonder, okay, if Matt's talking about like actors and stuff, like if that's, I mean, because you're not supposed to name names. Yeah. Okay, so the first picture that I ever worked on was actually a Lifetime type Hallmark movie. And it was with the Lawrence brothers, like Andy Lawrence, Matt Lawrence, and Joey Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
None of the three, I knew Joey, you know, from Blossom and, you know, those shows when I was a kid, but I didn't know that they did projects together, you know, even as adults. And those guys are thick as thieves. They're the closest of brothers. And Matt was acting. I think he was starring in it. Joey was doing a cameo, and Andy Lawrence was he was directing. And that was one of the first paid jobs I ever had. And that was the first time that I realized that actors are not as tall as like it may seem so silly, but you don't meet a lot of stars in person. You only see like the work that they do. And that was the first time that I realized that not everybody's the same height. So it seems so, I'm sorry, I feel so dumb saying that, but like it was the first time that I realized that like these guys, these grips, which I'm pretending to be today, put down these apple boxes is what they're called. And they're just wooden platforms and of different heights. And then the actors stand on them almost like the first place, second place, third place thing at the Olympics. And all of these people are various heights. And so these apple boxes, they stand on those outside of frame, and that makes everybody the same height. Well, I think the lead actress was like 5'10", and I think the lead actor was like 5'8" or something like that. They were both, you know, but so, you know, you had to put him on a platform, and I was just like, oh, this is movie magic. Like, this is what movie magic is. He's 6 foot tall now. But,
It is the funniest thing. I mean, oh gosh, I don't remember when I realized. I mean, they always said that the camera adds 10 pounds, but it also adds about 5 feet. I was like, wow. Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Exactly.
And makeup, seeing makeup artists do so many amazing things. I would just sit there slack-jawed and watch, you know, and I still do. Doing the horror movie, I watched Tatiana Bluchel and her team, Pedro, and just do the most, like, the wildest stuff. And when I was a little kid, I thought one of the things I wanted to do is like, okay, well, I want to be a comedian, but I also want to make Halloween masks. So I'm going to make Halloween masks. That was the big thing. I thought Halloween mask stores were amazing. And so when I came down here, the first time I got to do a movie that had any sort of horror effect, I'm seeing like eyes and big cuts and stuff like that. I'm just watching like a child as all this is going on, and I just so badly want to like poke it, you know, like
You want to touch the realism. You want to touch
just
it.
child. I mean,
It's hard not for you to do that.
Yes.
like even if it's not my project, I can't. I have a childlike fascination with everybody's job, and like I have to do mine, but when I'm done doing mine, I desperately want to go over and watch other people doing theirs. I want to see the makeup people doing their thing. I want to see.
It's because everyone you have that passion for the movies. You know what I mean? When you have a passion for the movie business, you just want to see everything, know everything, be a part of everything. That's kind of the beauty of being a part of the movie business at all.
And it's like Ralph said, like being a part of it, like it's this massive mechanism. It's so many jobs, it's so many people, and you just imagine it's just a guy with a camera and a guy with the boom pole taking sound. So that's all you need, right? You just need a camera and sound, and that's all you need. And then you almost that's it. And then you just almost want to like turn around and look.
Magic.
You see 60 people. Everybody's doing something totally different.
Yeah.
And I can't watch movies the same anymore, because I know, like, if it's even in a romantic or an intimate scene where it's two people having a really passionate discourse, or whether it's romantic or whether it's dramatic, or whether someone's being stalked through a house, I know right around the camera, there's probably 3 people there with.
Oh, wait. Your sound went out. Your sound. Hold on 1 second, everyone. You muted yourself. Unmute yourself, Aaron. I think once you put the Bluetooth in, it went to that. Sorry, everyone. I can't unmute you. Your mic's not connected. Okay, unmute yourself.
He said it's waiting.
You want to go out and come back in?
Sorry about that, guys. Our technical difficulties. Aaron will be right back.
Okay. It says device not connected. Can you hear me?
Guys, I can.
Yes.
Technology, apologies.
That's okay. That's okay. You were in the middle of speaking about just two people in a boom mic, and next thing you know, you got a project. And
yeah. Basically, it was just like having a revelation of being able to know how many people are on a set, and then being able to cherry pick which job you get to do. And I never would have known how much I enjoy lighting and gripping. Lighting turns on a light, but gripping controls the shadows and shapes everything. And if you want to talk about where the beauty of and the magic of movies are, to me, the visual element, I believe that it all lives in the grip department. Which is going to start a huge argument. like if you got on a set, because it's.
Hold on one second. Yes, Stan, we're still in here.
Going on either. I thought we were still rolling.
Oh shoot. Yes, Stan, we're still in here. 1 second, everyone. Sorry about that. We're still in here, and we're wrapping up. We had some we had some sound difficulties. We had some sound difficulties, but we're right. Exactly.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. So we were just talking about just having just like a boom mic and the grip truck and how important that is, and then we'll be wrapping up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron.
But it was. I guess getting on set is the number one thing. If anyone can try and do it, like a lot of people ask, how do you get started? And I would say just get in as a PA, and it's the best film school. It's free film school. You get in there, and then you start hanging out around camera. You start hanging out around sound and grips and electricians and stuff, and you might gravitate to something you never would have thought you would have. But they're all steps on the same ladder going up to what you dream about at night. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I realized that I think I could maybe do something with my writing, but it wasn't even until a year ago, like Matt was asking, it wasn't until a year ago that I thought that I ever wanted to be a director or could direct. I maybe directed a couple like sketches and things like that 25 years before, but not like what I just got a chance to do twice. I had 2 short films, and I can't wait to have an opportunity to do it again. Because being on set, you don't really have the opportunity to have creative control. You're just a cog in a larger wheel. And but as a director, you turn around and you realize for the first time that you're going to have 30 people that are all talented technicians asking you for an answer, and your answer determines an entire direction, a creative direction, whether it's what color do you want to use, what wardrobe, what do you want to see here, what do you want to see there. And the minutia that I would think of is minutia is everything. Like that's how the sausage is made. I don't care what color his socks are, but you have to, you do. Wardrobe needs to know, and you need to tell me now. And that was mind blowing. I've got a real wardrobe person here doing this thing, and he's asking these questions. And to him, in his department, this is everything. Like this is my department. I am in charge of this, and I have to do a good job because it exemplifies who I am as an artist. And the sound guy is saying the same thing. Is this shot from behind? I can't see the mic. If we're here, we're gonna have to do something else. And it was the first time that I had anyone from all of these departments asking me to make this final call. And I think that's where the mystique of being a director is, and why I can't wait to do it again, because I finally realized not as a producer, but as a director, that I had answers to these questions, that I had an opinion, and I guess therefore I've got taste, question mark, you know, like,
Right.
I have
I'm good at this.
yeah, yeah, like, I have a preference. Like, I want to see this over that. Like, I do want to see striped socks because, you know, I believe that David's Joker costume should have a little bit of Art the Clown in it. And he was black and white. He was very monochromatic, and then blood everywhere. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if his Joker costume had black and white in it? You know, on even something small like his socks. And like, that means something to me. Maybe it'll be an Easter egg for somebody else. And I really lucked out because I got a chance to answer all those questions. And then when we drop this short here in probably the next 10 days or so, it's about 11, 12 minutes long. I even got to deal with some of like the music. I got to like that. It's just having a chance to answer every question and be a part of every aspect. It's just incredible.
Right.
Yeah, it's intoxicating.
This was a great discussion. And we're going to have you back. And you just gave me a reason to invite you back, because if your short film is ending in about 10 days, we're going to have you back next month. We're going to have to have you back.
I would love that. I would love that so much.
So, and maybe we'll play the short film at the beginning of the show. We'll figure that out. But
it's a lot.
That's okay. We'll just have to brace everyone for what they're about to see.
Okay.
But I'd love to do that. And just, this was a great discussion. Soleil, did you have any thing to say at the end?
I just want to thank you for being so vulnerable, because when I said that I was really locked into what you were saying, I was very serious. Just you expressing your experience with depression and just feeling like your work wasn't good enough because other people weren't validating you in that moment, and just recognizing that, you know, when the time comes, it comes, but just knowing that your work is amazing regardless of what anybody says. Like, you sharing that with us, I really appreciated it. So thank you. And all your gems, stuff you said that I didn't know about. So I was really
This was a great discussion, everyone. Thank you so much. We ran a little long this evening, but it was good. So it might get a little long if it's good. So,
never had a problem talking.
Right. Me neither. So stay tuned. We're going to be having some more shows like this. And next week, actually, we've got Katie Cooper. You recognize her last name. So that's Ralph's wife. So, and she's also a producer. Or I'm sorry, Christy. See, Christy, sorry. Right. And Soleil is supposed to be here to correct me. I tell her to correct me when I do so wrong. So I'm not looking at our actual flyer. So I just went off of memory. So I do apologize. So please stay tuned for that flyer. Please stay tuned for information on that show. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Soleil, Crystal. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, you'll be back. We're going to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait. I look forward to it.
Hold on.